Sup everyone, welcome to another video. And before we get further into the video, I'll admit it, right? I'm not a guy people come to for great general takes, but from time to time I do feel like I do say some stuff that ends up being right on the mark. And with the release of the Genshin Impact Genius Invocation TCGs, now can we not say that? Like, I've already seen the gameplay trailer and I know what Hoyoverse is doing, right? I know exactly what they're doing. I'm sure you guys probably picked it up as well. They're trying to push this thing as like its own existence. It's trying to take up as much relevancy as it can possibly soak up within one patch. And there's good and bad when it comes to the card game. That's what I'm going to call it. The card game. Maybe the Genshin card game, right? Maybe just call it the Genshin card game, not Genius Invocation TCG. But this card game has pretty much one shot to captivate as many people as it possibly can, because even the people I believe who don't really enjoy it, or who at least right now thinks they're not going to enjoy this, they likely will give it a try. Okay, and that's the most important part. No matter if you hate the game or you enjoy the game or you've quit Genshin or you're still just slogging along by the skin of your teeth on life support, likely more than not people are going to give this game mode a try. And when people first heard about this or first saw this, a lot straight up jumped the gun and said, you know, it's just going to be another fishing content, right? It's like similar to fishing. You do it, you grind it, you get some sort of achievement or some sort of reward at the end for free to play, and you never touch it ever again, right? That doesn't seem to be the case. While yes, fishing has had, I believe, minor updates. I think they added some extra category fishing. I don't think the card game is just as simple as that, right? Drop some basic cards in the game, have them have some sort of interactions, and then never touch it again, or give very minor updates to this. No, this is likely of a scale similar to the teapot feature, if not bigger. Now, the biggest difference between the Genshin card game and the teapot is this card game, if it does succeed, its potential likely even exceeds that of Genshin Impact's. I know, pretty crazy. There's not many people who will take a look at Genshin Impact, right? Download the whole game, gacha for characters and whatnot. But if it's just a card game, Hoyoverse can eventually take it away from Genshin Impact and release it as its own IP. It's not so crazy to think about, because game modes such as auto chess, such as Dota, originally was a part of another engine. Dota was created from the Warcraft engine and eventually branched out into its own IP. The same thing with Dota Auto Chess. That came from the Dota custom client and eventually branched off into its own existence. Now, take a look at the name. Genius Invocation TCG. Genius Invocation, when abbreviated, is GI, which, let me just tap a little bit into the conspiracy side of me, which is the same as Genshin Impact. They're both GI. So if you abbreviate the whole thing, it's GITCG. Now, it really makes me wonder, I haven't figured this out yet, why don't they just call it Genshin Impact TCG? Why Genius Invocation, and why does it just so coincidentally share the same abbreviated letters as Genshin Impact? GI. Now, if you were to tie me down on a chair, hold a lamp right to my face and ask me, do I think Hoyoverse has the ambition to make this card game much bigger, right? Do they have the ambition and do they have the foresight of thinking, hey, maybe we should pour some attention into this card game as an insurance for if the day comes when Genshin Impact the game doesn't do so well, if the card game survives all the updates and patches and people still care about it, maybe we can take this and move forward. And who knows, maybe the entirety of Genshin is just one giant experiment and we are all just the test subjects, right? Oh, maybe I'm crazy. Honestly, let's examine the card game a little bit here, because in the gameplay trailer, it actually gives away more than you guys would believe. For starters, the original elemental synergies actually has been preserved here, and in fact, it actually works in a similar fashion. Now, the scaling of which I don't know, right? You guys could say, oh, melt, vaporize is still the meta, even in the card game. Who knows? But what we did see was that that there was some sort of swirl reaction going on that affected characters that had another element on them. Now, it all happened so fast, so I can't really spell out the mechanics, but I'm sure you guys already been looking at the leaks of the gameplay, so you can tell yourselves, or you can go look this up. But from what it seems like, the core philosophy of the reactions likely doesn't change. And because it's a different interface, obviously it's going to be slightly different. You're not going to be doing 1 million crit damage on the enemy, but it also doesn't seem as simple as click buttons, enemy die. From just the basic layout of the card game, the first other card game that this reminds me of is Hearthstone. And I think likely there's a lot of inspiration that's been drawn from it, but at the same time, HoYoverse made sure to simplify, and simplify. Everything seems to be watered down to make sure that even the most casual of players can pick this up easily. But also, they did add some levels of complexity. Yes, something can be complex and simple at the same time, and I think this card game likely it's trying to strive for that perfect golden balance, is that there's enough depth in this game for people who cares about that stuff to be able to work their way and create interesting decks and playstyles, or maybe even niche metas. But it's simple enough that anybody can just pick it up and at least play a couple rounds without feeling overwhelmed from the get-go. To sum it all up, basically it's to say that it has a low barrier of entry but an incredibly high ceiling. At least from the looks of it, it seems like it's going to be the case, because with all the reaction system and the number of characters. Now, I might add that it also includes summon units such as Oz, as well as NPC units, which in the gameplay trailer you saw Magu Genki, which I don't know if it's going to be a collectible card for players or it's just going to be an NPC operated card. Now, that's another layer that we have to talk about, right? It's like, well, NPCs likely will have unique cards that are only usable by them. Think of them like instance-based challenges where you can fight them once or maybe multiple times, I don't know, but they have a specific deck that they run which is exclusive to only them. This is actually quite interesting, and going forward I'm actually interested to experiment with all sorts of playstyles, combos, and maybe even develop metas for this card game. Now, how much of this is going to take over and influence Genshin and its daily routine? Probably not much, if any at all. But I just want to leave this here in saying that this card game likely is far more important to HoYoverse than you realize. And I wish you guys would give it the time of day if you do still enjoy the game of Genshin Impact, even if you don't enjoy card games. Personally, myself, I don't play card games really at all, but you best know it, if there's a Kaching card in this game mode, I'm gonna be giving it a shot. Now, I'll be seeing you guys in-game, and I'm always up for a challenge, so if there's a multiplayer feature, hopefully we can get some games in. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, urge you all to stay safe, and peace. Bye.